What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back at you today with more Danmachi, and I hate to bring this video at the end of the event, but unfortunately I just really haven't had very many satiable runs, and I really didn't want to do this until I got it right. Also, we didn't max them break eyes until the very end of this. If you don't have the new eyes, max them broken. See if you could do it today. Obviously, you don't want to go over 10 summons. You know, if you can do paid summons, great. If you can't, I still, honestly, I'm going to be real, I don't recommend going over 10 summons, and I don't recommend dropping star bonds yet, because, simply put, we have a third part coming up. We don't know what's going to be in those parts. Star bonds are still fairly limited, and, you know, unless you're going paid, it's not really too terribly worth. You're talking about the difference of, you know, what, 100, maybe tops 200 iris, and just to be realistic, you're going to find that elsewhere. Now, if you haven't done all 10 of your summons, make sure you do them. Because if you have Eyes Maximum broken, she's not only going to work here, she's going to work in the upcoming Record Buster. But let's go ahead and do a quick run and talk about this. Because I've done a little modification to my team that I think might help out. But I'm not 100% certain yet. I've got to get back down to this. So, the first thing to know about Finn is that your armors are completely different with him. You want to use whatever his element is, which in this case is earth. You want to use those cloaks. You know, we've never really had a good use for those cloaks. Now you need them. So make sure everyone's adorned with earth cloaks. Make sure everyone has the best possible weapon. I've actually ascended Anya and Aiza's weapons, so we should be good on that regard. I've not ascended Ryu's weapon, but... And you notice I'm using this older Ryu here. This Ryu, she's gotten a few updates. She's not going to be the best hitter, but she's going to be a fairly decent hitter. Line is going to be a really great asset in your early runs. Unfortunately, because of what happens later on, she does fall off the map a little bit, but, you know, she's going to be good for the early runs. 33% SA gauge charge. And if you notice, I actually have the new Finn attached to her. So he's going to continue to give us 33% all the way through. The assists never drop off. And then we're just going to do our basic buff stack. Everybody does skill 1 for their buff. That will change here shortly. The buff stack for both Ryu and Eyes is very different, but than normal. Actually, their buff stack is hilariously similar, but I digress. Now, with Katori, I know Katori's a really amazing unit. She's one of the first ones that I had the weapon max ascended for, but I'm going to be real, we're going to sack her for just this one thing. That single target damage plus 20%. That is going to pay out dividends in this first run. And unfortunately, after that, it's gone once again. So you need to plan your sacks extremely carefully. Okay? Now we're going to do our buff stack. And that means that Eyes and Ryu both go to skill 3. And Anya goes to skill 2. Katori is once again skill 3. That's just basically how their buff stacks work. Alright? Now we have Haruhime. Now, Haruhime is a mixed bag in this team. She has a good reason to be here, but she really doesn't shine until the end of the event, with one exception. We're going to do Sheikah really, really early on, because, A, that counter rate is going to be really good for Haruhime doing her heals, and the penetration rate is going to help us do extra damage. So we're going to do Sheikah on this turn. You'll notice that none of our other buffs are really wearing out. We got 3 turns and everything, and we've only got 2 turns till everything's wiped out. So we're going to go and do skill 2 with both Eyes and Ryu, and skill 3 with Anya, and skill 2 with Haruhime. This is really interesting. Like, everybody but Anya goes, well, okay, we go 2, 1, 1, 1, then with the sack, 3, 3, 3, 2, then 2, 2, 2, 3. It's really interesting. And then, of course, because we're on turn 4, we're actually going to take Haruhime back. We're going to do Akane, her skill 1, and that's because we need that 40% debuff. If you don't do the 40% debuff, it's going to suck. Plus, we're going to use Anya mostly for her strength and magic debuff. You have to have somebody. If you don't have Anya, you need somebody on this turn who does strength and magic debuffs. You need it. It's absolutely mandatory. If you don't have that, life is going to suck. So, Turn 4, I'm not going to do an SA. I have an SA gauge charge, but I'm going to save that for something very good here at the end. Okay? Now, you'll notice that at this point, Finn has buffed himself up to 150%, and everyone else gets that buff. If you don't remember how Finn works, that's how he works. He does a strength and magic buff. Now, he's automatically basically deficient to strength. So with the strength debuffs, we have him down 80% of that. He's deficient to wind. With all the debuffs, we have him down to 185%. So wind is the best possible candidate for getting out the most damage. Okay. Turn 4 is where we're really going to do just hit him as hard as we can. Now, I'm not going to do an SA in this turn, and we'll get to why that is in a moment. But like I said, make sure absolutely more than anything else, you're removing strength and magic. Got to remove both. And you're debuffing the outgoing damage, because if you don't, life is going to suck. The one thing I do like to do here is see the status buff minus 2 turns. Unfortunately, later on in the event, he's going to buff his earth attack damage. Actually, he might do it here at the beginning of this one. There he goes. He just buffed his earth damage. Unfortunately, it's a 3-turn buff, so Isis is going to take care of that. And because of that, we're going to get hit really hard, and it is not going to feel good. That's life. That is how Finn do. But I digress. Let's go here. Finn is going to SA, and this one's not going to hurt too badly. It's not going to feel great, but it's not going to hurt too badly. All right, and we're going to go back. Now, you'll notice that Finn is completely, he nukes everything. His buffs and debuffs are gone. All my units' buffs and debuffs are gone. The only thing that's left over is you'll notice that the new Eyes has that additional, the Berserker Rush. So that's going to be really handy. We're just going to go back, and we're going to do the buff stack all over again. Okay? I'm going to do Akane on the first turn here, because if you basically don't do Akane first turn, you're going to take a lot of damage from this turn going forward. I believe Finn's attacks on the first 3 runs are all basically flat attacks. So you could pretty much tell what he's going to do there. From this point on, the buffs and debuffs make an enormous difference. All right. On this turn, I'm going to do Sheikah. I'm actually do skill 3, skill 3, and skill 2. Now, there is something to be said for doing Eyes' debuff on this turn, because her SA does a huge wind element debuff. It is going to help both Ryu and Eyes do more damage, but I've actually found that by doing it on turn 8, I get a little bit more damage, only because my Ryu isn't max limit broken or max ascended. If you're doing the same team and your Ryu or whoever you have that does physical wind element is max damage, max ascended, you actually will get a slight bit more damage out of doing it on turn 6 or turn 7, but I've not found that in my stack. So I'm going to go ahead and do my full buff stack again, and I'm going to go ahead and do, let's see, I could do Yosuga on this turn, but I'm going to go back down and do Akane. I'm going to be really, really, really cautious about what I'm doing with my MP with Haruhime, and because of that, because my Ryu isn't maximum broken, I'm actually going to go ahead and just do a base attack on this turn with her as well, because I'm going to need that extra one at the end of the event. You'll see what I mean in a moment. Okay? Basically, saving that one saving that one attack is going to pay dividends. All right? So, bam, bam, bam. Max attack with everybody. And once again, nothing's really wearing out. Yep, everything is one turn here. So we're not terribly worried about what happens. I am going to do an SA. I'm going to do an SA with Eyes here on this turn. And that's just basically going to be there to produce damage. Remember, everybody has that 150 buff. Now, it is tempting to do this attack on turn 8 and turn 12. Gauge it wisely, because it is a big debuff. Bam, 1.3 mil. Nice. Ice can be really handy doing that SA earlier if you have the right team. Unfortunately, my team has not really benefited from that. But if you have a good full maximum broken team, they will definitely handle this. And I'll be real, I'm running difficulty 6. If you're running difficulty 4, difficulty 5, it's all good, guys. You don't have to have these units max limit broken. Still use the same stack, but just run at whatever the maximum difficulty is that you can run at and still get to turn 15. The key is getting to turn 15 to get your maximum rewards. Okay? Turn 9, once again, we're going to do Akane. We're going to go back and do our full buff stack one more time. Everything is cleared after that essay. Here we go. Now, the instant kind of temptation is to do a big heal with Haruhime. The problem is you gotta debuff on that turn. If you do not debuff on the turn, life is going to suck. Absolutely suck. Now, just to kind of show you the difference, because I don't think it's going to affect my turn too much, I'm going to go ahead and do the essay on this turn with eyes. Now, this is the other kind of buff style you can do. The nice part is this then debuff is going to stay in play for the rest of the match. Or, yeah, because he doesn't remove it on turn 12. So at this point, we're going to do eyes as debuff, and it's going to stay in place for the rest of the match. And I'll show you the reason that I say there is a big benefit to doing this. Though, to be honest, you're doing this before any of the other debuffs are in place. So you do want to be a little cautious about it. But it is going to allow them to do a slight bit more damage, once again, like I said, if your units are maxed. The damage difference, though, is pretty extreme. Remember, she doesn't have the 150% strength buff, and none of the other debuffs are in place. So check your expectations on this damage. We did get a critical, though. Yeah, about 590k, about 600k. We didn't get penetration, but it's nice that we're getting some criticals. I've had quite a few of those in the past that didn't get crits, and I did not like life. I do need to do Yosuga on this turn because the downside to doing that is now you are basically in a Yosuga loop. That's why we were managing Haruhime's her MP so drastically. Okay, Berserker Rush. The one thing to remember, we're gonna have a Berserker Rush already chilling down here. I think we should have. Yeah, there's one down there. Berserker Rush will not activate on an SA. I'll say that again. Berserker Rush does not activate on an SA because it is not considered an action. SAs act different, are considered different than actions. So while Berserker Rush is great, she's not getting one on that turn. So do be aware of that. Okay? Cyclocity, Shinobi Strike, and once again at this point we're basically spamming Yosuga. So here we go. Now, the main thing is here, I need to make up the difference in damage. We had about 400k. We're about down 800,000 damage. So in the next two turns, if I can't make that up, it definitely isn't worth. So on this turn, I've got to have another. I just have to do 400k extra damage and 400k extra damage here. Unfortunately, as you notice, my teams don't do that. But I wanted to show you kind of the main reason that I say do it the other way around. So we're going to go ahead and do skill 2, skill 2, skill 3, and then, of course, spamming Yosuga with Haruhime. Let's go. Now, I do have double SA, and I'm going to save that. I basically want to do, the goal is to do a triple at the end, but because I've swapped out my 10% earth damage unit for a triple SA at the end, I'm producing a little bit less damage. Emphasis on a little bit, so I unfortunately don't have my assists for that max limit broken. But I'm hoping that it's a short-term loss, long-term gain here. All right. Now this is where it gets a little tricky. Earth is down 210%. That's very, very nice. That's basically the max that it's going to get. Okay. So here we go. Let's just go crazy and spam these high level attacks, and then hopefully turn 15 we can get a quad SA. I know that Haruhime's SA isn't really important to this. Unfortunately, I won't be able to get a single and then a triple or do two doubles. It's just, I'm literally like one turn off from that. So I think a quad is going to be our best bet, but we'll see. We'll see. Durandal Edge, Cyclocities, Shinobi Strike. and Yosuga. Remember, Yosuga is just to continue replicating all this stuff. Though I'm going to be real, 3 turns, 4 turns. We've got 3 turns, and everything's kind of at 3 turns. You know what I'm going to do? I'm actually going to take Yosuga off. Yeah. All of my debuffs and buffs are at 4 turns. I'm going to take Yosuga off, and I'm going to do Akane just for the extra damage. The main reason for that is because it is just going to do a fire attack damage. I know that's not going to be great. Like, magic is at 0 and fire is at 0, but it's a little tiny bit of extra damage that we'll be able to get on top of that. We'll watch this, but I don't suspect that we're going to need much more. So that's just a little tiny bit of extra damage, and really every little bit counts. So let's go. Now, we have 2 turns left, Berserker Rush. That's perfect, because that's going to take us basically to the end of the match. Haruhime, I need heals, girl. Yes. Now, I am going to do Yosuga on this turn only because we need those heals. If we don't get those heals, life is going to suck, and I'm very worried that Ryu isn't going to make it. You know what? I bet I can do an essay with eyes and still make a triple. We'll see. I'm gonna gamble it. I'm gonna do an essay with eyes. I think we'll still get a triple at the end by doing this. So she's my biggest hitter on this one. So let's see. Let's gamble it. Let's see. I have had this kind of bite me before, but it looks promising this time. Again, looks can be deceiving, but looks pretty good. Now, normally, the reason that I did reuse single attack earlier is because mine's only +4. She's not max limit broken. And I've only got... Heal, Haruhime! Heal! Good girl. Yes, thank you. No! Ah! We only have double SA anyway. It was not a good gamble. Anyway, if I had kept with my theme from the beginning, I would have had a quad SA here. We would have been quite a bit more damage, probably about 20% more damage up from where we are now. That was a weak hit. That was... Oh, RNG is just not on my side on this one. This is not going to be an impressive run. I'm going to wager below 450, between 425 and 450, depending upon what Anya does here. Crit and penetration. Yeah, critical and penetration. Good. That's good. I needed that from Eyes, though. I've seen Eyes hit about 2.3, I think is the max I've gotten out of her. So, I think that was crit and pen, too, again. That pains me quite a bit. All right. Ready to see my 425. 488, actually. That's better than expected. Not my top marks, though. So, that is Record Buster, guys. Like I said, there is a benefit to that. But realistically, I would have gotten a lot more damage had I done Eyes' essay on turn 12 and then kept it for the quad essay at the end. We would have gotten a lot more damage out of it. Once again, to show off the team that I built here, the smarter decision would be to actually put the other wind resistance unit here in the front. It was just a gamble with Finn. Finn comes in, basically gives everybody 33%, and then when Haruhime comes in turn 3, we actually then have the 100% SA gauge charge. If you have, like, Ducky Hestia, and I forget who the other wind unit is, I believe it's one of the Ainas. I believe. I could be wrong on that one. You know what? I believe I can actually call up that team. No, it's Reindeer Hestia. There we go. So there we go. So if you have Reindeer Hestia, which a lot of people do not, she was a very special time limited unit. If you have her, she does magic and fire attack damage and wind attack damage plus 10%. That would help Haruhime out a little bit, but once again, Haruhime is not here, so it's really kind of irrelevant. This was the original team that I built. This is the original team that cracked 500,000. Just trying new things to like mix it up a little bit. But this is a stellar team, does a really great job. And once again, if you don't have all these units max limit broken, or you don't have these exact units, the main reason I'm using, definitely New Eyes, you need to use her. She's absolutely imperative for this. This Ryu is fairly decent. Not the greatest thing ever, but very decent. And if you have her max limit broken, she's great. She's an older unit. She's been around. Hopefully you do have her. Anya isn't imperative. The main reason I'm using Anya is because mine is completely maxed out, does really good damage, does a big physical debuff. You need that physical debuff and remove strength and magic. You need someone to remove strength and magic. Having the physical debuff on top of that is great. The fact that she debuffs her own light attack damage is really stellar and helps her produce a lot of damage. Katori as my sack. Now, Katori is really interesting. She's a really great hitter. She'd be a really great addition to the team, but my biggest thing that I'm using her for, and which is frankly kind of a waste, is the 20% single target damage. There are other units that do a little bit higher on that, but remember, it only counts for the first 3 turns, for turns 2 through 4, because after that, it's all gone. So choose your route wisely there. Using Line and Katori is definitely completely optional. If you don't have those units, there are other units you can use. Whoever you can do to get that early damage out, definitely do it. And like I said, my Ryu being +4, I did have to skip that one move in the middle. If she had survived, we would have gotten an extra attack out of her, and hopefully an SA at the end, but I should have kept doing Yosuga instead of trying to get the extra damage out. That was kind of my biggest problem. But that's Record Buster, guys. Good luck with your runs. Let me know if this helped you guys out. I know this video should have been due out a few days ago, but I was still working on my teams. I still didn't have my teams worked out, and I didn't even have Eyes Max Limit broken until just recently. So, hope this helps you guys out in your last minute runs. Let me know if it did. If it did, you owe me that little thumbs up, like, comment, share, and I'll catch you on the next one.